Hello and welcome to Brodual. This time we have the second and final part of our Immersive Citizens AI Overhaul Spotlight. This time we're focusing on the combat state. The main feature of the new combat state is the more clearly defined survival instinct. NPCs will be able to properly evaluate the danger and respond to it appropriately when they're under attack. Generally speaking, if an NPC is attacked by an opponent who's 10 levels higher than them, they'll flee from battle. If they decide to fight, they'll still eventually choose to flee once their health falls below a specific percentage. This depends on their gear, so if they're well equipped they'll fight for longer. Fleeing NPCs won't just run away and duck down like in vanilla, but instead they'll escape to a secure location depending on their surroundings. If they're near their home then they'll run inside and lock the doors. If they're in a bigger city they'll also run into temples, the castle of the Jarl, a barracks, or wherever there's other people or city guards. Those are just the basic rules of the new system and acts as a base for all NPCs. It also makes it so NPCs not only value their life, but also take their own ability and current setup into account before deciding to fight. To make things more diverse and to offer more unique reactions, there's also several other special rules in place. Depending on the NPC's personality and social rank, they'll also be assigned to one of 4 main categories. Civilians are any NPC that isn't equipped for battle, so basically just your generic townsperson, but also including farmers and a couple of other NPCs. They'll never try to fight off an attacker and will always choose to flee. Strategists are NPCs that have abilities at their disposal to offer a tactical retreat. This means they'll choose to fight, but when their health drops low they'll retreat for a few seconds to recover and then rejoin the fight. This mostly applies to mages, who can make use of defensive healing spells to quickly recover any battle wounds. Cautious NPCs are more reserved in general, and even if they're at a higher level than the attacker, they still might choose to flee if they face certain, more impressive enemies. Members of the Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood are marked as cautious. This is fitting because they're not the type to fight a fair fight, but instead choose to strike from darkness. And finally, fearless NPCs will fight back until their death, regardless of their opponent, their health, or their chance of success. Fearless NPCs include the undead, those under the influence of a frenzy spell, and those in certain fighting factions. This includes the Companions Guild, the Imperial Legion, and the Stormcloaks. There are 2 other special rules in place for more unique scenarios. Khajiit merchants can't exactly take shelter inside buildings, so instead they'll hide in the most logical places, like inside city walls or inside a guard tower. Sleeping agents are another rare case. This is basically for disguised vampires and Forsworn that are pretending to be among the citizens of Skyrim. Unless they're attacked by the Dragonborn, they'll continue to act like a regular civilian and not make use of their extra abilities, unless it means their death. NPCs can evaluate the scenario even if their opponent is the player or a custom NPC. So if you're using something like interesting NPCs or inconsequential NPCs, they'll use their survival instinct too. However, it isn't used by generic NPCs like bandits, and it's also disabled for an NPC if they become your follower, just so their behaviour and reactions don't interrupt your gameplay. The last major feature of the combat state is Npc Combat Style. This will depend on whether they're listed as melee or ranged. Melee NPCs will rely more on a defensive stance and then attempt to counterattack, rather than blindly swinging or using power attacks. They'll also now make use of bashes at key times, like when trying to avoid a flurry of attacks or a power attack. Ranged NPCs will avoid melee combat as much as possible and stick to their range style where they're more effective. They'll also stay behind cover and rarely pursue their opponent, but instead keep their distance and wait for the enemy to approach them. So the changes to combat styles help further make the NPC behaviour more realistic. Why would a master mage swap out and use a dagger instead of just blasting away at their enemy from afar? Well, now they won't. Unlike the standard state where its changes currently only affect Whiterun, Riverwood and the nearby farms, the new combat state affects pretty much all NPCs in every city and village, with only a few minor exceptions. Also, unlike the standard state, it's fully compatible with custom NPCs. In terms of compatibility, the only real issue you'll have with the mod as a whole is with city mods. The mod simply isn't compatible with the likes of JK Skyrim or Enhanced Towns and Cities. Apart from that, you shouldn't have any issues as long as your load order is correct, and for that you should check the mod page. We also recommend you use the Immersive detection for NPCs. The Immersive Citizens mod only affects the standard state and the combat state, but not the detection or alerted state, so using both together works extremely well. If you're interested in a detailed look at the mod, then we'll include a link for you down below. I said it in part 1 and I'll say it again. This is one of the most impressive AI mods to date, and once it fully expands into all areas of the game, it'll probably be a must-have for us. As always, everything you need is down below, and be sure to leave an endorsement on any mod you enjoy. If you're in between playthroughs, you can check out g2a.com for a new game, and as always, thanks for watching.